Okay, so in this video I'm going to talk about one of the timing functions in LabView. So if you start with our empty block diagram functions panel, if I expand programming, I can get in here to timing. I can grab this element called elapsed time, and then I'll get a dialog box that says, how long do you want the elapsed time to be set, and do you want it to automatically reset after the time target? So basically what this thing is going to do, if I leave it like this, is it will count up to 1 second, and then it will go back to 0, and then count up to 1 second, and then go back to 0, and count up to 1 second over and over again. For this case, I don't want it to automatically reset, and I want the elapsed time target set to, let's say, 5 seconds. So you can see I have all these input terminals and all these output terminals. If I grab this bottom and I drag it all the way down as far as it will go, I can see all those input and output terminals listed in a nice list. I like to do that the first couple times I use a component, just to help me remember exactly what I'm wiring to. So we have some options here. We have time has elapsed, we have elapsed time, we have the present time. These are both in seconds. We have a string output that will tell us the present time, a string output that will tell us the start time, the elapsed time string, and then some inputs, an auto reset, some error handling, a reset boolean, and a set start time and set target time. So the target time and the auto reset were the two things that we just set in that dialog box. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this element, elapsed time, right into a while loop, and I'll come over here in my control panel and I'll add a stop button, which anytime you put a while loop, you gotta wire a stop button. So I'll put that there. And then what I'm going to ask it to do is just to output a string with the present time. And so if I go over here and I go to string and path and I create a string indicator, I'll call this present time. And it's going to be kind of long, so I'll expand it. And then I'll wire it to my present time and I'll click go. So you can see every time this loops around and the second changes, it's going to show me exactly what time it is every time it loops. Click stop. But the question is it looping faster than the present time is updating? Maybe I want to find that out. So maybe I put in I go over here to numeric indicator. I can put that in there. And I'll call this loop number. And I'll wire I, which is the loop iteration, to my loop number indicator. You can see this little bit of the terminal turns red. That's because the loop number is an integer, and the indicator that I have is set to double. So if I go here, it doesn't present a problem, but it's not exactly rigorous. So if I go here to properties and I go to data type, I can click adapt to source, which will figure out whatever the source is. Or I could just click here and change to whatever data type I want. So in this case, it's a 32-bit integer. I click OK, and we see that little red dot goes away. Now if I run, you can see I'm looping hundreds of thousands of times by the time this has run a few seconds. So don't confuse how fast it's looping with how fast this string is actually updating. So now we can click stop. So we set our elapsed time to 5 seconds, I think. So let's put a numeric indicator on our elapsed time. So we'll call this elapsed time. And then I can wire that here. When I click run, you can see it will count up 3, 4, 5, and keep counting and keep counting and keep counting. So I set the elapsed time to 5 seconds. Why does it just keep counting up? Well, the answer is because it's actually giving us the elapsed time. It's the amount of time that has elapsed since we started that VI. What we can do to interrogate our target time is we can put another indicator here, a Boolean, and we'll just put a round LED in here. And we'll call this elapsed indicator. And we'll wire that LED to this time has elapsed Boolean output. And we'll see what that does. So when we click run, we'll see our elapsed time goes back down to 0, it starts counting up, and watch what happens when it gets to 5. There we go. So this elapsed time indicator goes from false to true at the target time, 5 seconds, and when that goes to true, it lights up the LED. Stop there. And so you can play with the other outputs. They're fairly straightforward. You can grab the text for the start time. You can grab the text for the elapsed time if you need it in a string. So yeah, if you have more questions, shoot me an email.